Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be going over the Anti-Corpus status guide. Now this is actually the second time I'm doing this video. And the reason is the first time I did it, I mistakenly tested against the Corpus sub-faction Amalgam Corpus. Now there are a couple of differences. A lot of it is the same, but there are a few differences here. So the differences is that Amalgam Corpus are weak against electric and regular Corpus are not. Electric is normal against them. So we'll see our electric number that we got previously. It'll still be good in the testing, but it's not going to be as oppressively high as it was before. And the other difference is that Amalgam Corpus are resistant to blast, but regular Corpus aren't. So blast will actually do more damage than it did before. So we'll see the lower blast scores we got before be much higher and more consistent than like what we saw with like Grenier and Infested. So, okay, those are the differences. Now, Corpus themselves, they have a vulnerability to magnetic. So that's the only elemental vulnerability. They have like a physical element vulnerability to puncture, but we're not doing the physical elements right now. We're just doing the regular elements. So they'll still take extra damage from magnetic. So that's one of the elements we're testing. We're also still going to be testing electric. We're going to be testing toxic, blast, gas, and cold. So we're testing 6 different elements against these guys today. And just to go over them, so for anyone that doesn't know, magnetic is a 325% boost to damage against shields. It's kind of like the viral effect. So of course at 10 stacks, that's what it is. You don't get 325 on one stack. So it'll start low and then eventually at 10 stacks, it'll get to 325. Similar to viral. Now, you get a little bit extra with magnetic, of course, because there's more enemies in the game that have health and have shields, so they have to give magnetic a little bit extra than they do viral. So with magnetic, once those shields break on a guy, he's also going to take a little burst of damage, depending on his shields. And he's also going to receive an electric proc, which is pretty cool, because you can get like 2 statuses basically by just having magnetic. You get magnetic and electric when the shield breaks, which is kind of cool. So that's what magnetic is. Electric is an AoE dot. So it's a dot that will tick damage in a 3-meter radius, and it also stuns a target. Gas is also an AoE dot. At max stacks of 10, gas will be a 6-meter radius at max stack. So it'll start at 3 meters at 1 stack, and it'll work its way up at 10 stacks to a 6-meter radius cloud. Now, gas does not have a CC effect like electric does, but it does persist on death. So when the enemy dies, he's just going to have that little gas cloud around him for 6 seconds is the base amount. Toxic, we're testing because, of course, toxic bypasses shields. Toxic is a dot, and also toxic bypasses shields. So that's, a no-brainer to test against Corpus. We're testing blast because we're just kind of adding blast to the mix in all of these tests because blast has been completely reworked. And I'll show blast off as well. And we're testing cold because someone requested for me to test cold on these guys. And I thought it was a good request because I kind of wanted to see what cold was doing too because that was also kind of changed. So, okay, I explained those, but I do want to show 2. I want to show blast how it works, and then I want to read cold off. So I have blast on my weapon already, so let me read it though real quick. Okay, blast deals 30% of base damage after 1.5 seconds. So think of this as a dot that only ticks 1 time and then it goes away. All right, now the second part of this is at 10 stacks or when the target dies, stacks deal their damage simultaneously to enemies within 5 meters while staggering them. So this is where it actually explodes is the second part. Okay, so let's just show that off real quick, just for anyone that doesn't know yet. Okay, so we'll get a couple blast procs on them. 2 ticks of damage. 2 ticks of damage. 1 tick of damage. That's how blast works. Now, if I actually want to make it explode, I either have to kill him and then it'll explode, or I have to get to 10 stacks. So let's get to 10 stacks in this guy. You see everyone around him starting to stagger there, and when he died, it also triggered again. Now, in the Simulacrum, these guys don't take damage for some reason, but in gameplay, they do take damage, and they get staggered still. So that's how Blast works. Pretty good. And then the other thing I wanted to... I don't have to show this. It's kind of self-explanatory, but I did want to read it because some people may not have seen Cold yet. Okay, so Cold causes enemies to move and attack slower for each stack, and at 10 stacks, it'll completely freeze them for 3 seconds. That's cool. But look at the second part of it. So increases critical damage by 10% on the first stack, and with an additional 5% per stack. And this effect doubles when the target gets frozen. Remember, he gets frozen at 10 stacks. So, I'm not the best at math here, but I think at max stacks when it doubles, I think that's 110%. Unless it doesn't count the first one, then it's 100% or something. It's either 100 or 110%, which is pretty strong. I mean, if you look here, like Vital Sense is a mod that you have to put on your weapon, and that's 120% crit damage. So 100% or even 110, whatever it is, that's almost like a whole mod effect that you have on an element there. It's pretty cool. So, okay. Now, let me explain what I did for these tests before we get into the PowerPoint presentation. So what I did is I did 5 minutes, 5 runs on each element, and I did that with the Prisma Grokata. It's a really quick firing little machine gun, but it has very low alpha damage. Now, the reason I chose the Grokata was because it's very average. It has average stats, it has average IPS, it has average everything. The status chance is average, and so I thought it was a great weapon just to be like a blank slate to test this out. I also stripped any kind of RNG mods on it. That way everything was consistent. Okay, but again, going back to like the damage and how it has low alpha damage. Very fast firing. It does a lot of DPS, but each individual shot, its paper damage is only about 200. Now, so what I did is I did another set of tests. Let me pull up the second weapon I did this on. I did a second set of tests. Same thing, 5 minutes, 5 runs, each element with the Prisma Grinlock. And I chose the Grinlock for the same reason. It's a super average weapon. It's got average IPS, average everything. The only difference is it's a high alpha damage weapon. So it shoots slowly, but each bullet does about 2,000 paper damage. So it's about, 10 times stronger per bullet than the Grokata. They do about the same DPS, but the actual, the alpha part of it is different. One's low, one's high alpha. And that changes how elements work sometimes. And it usually comes down to just Blast. So Blast usually gets a lot better on a high alpha damage weapon, and also weirdly Toxic. I don't know why Toxin gets better on a high alpha damage weapon. There's probably a reason to it. I have to review Toxic and see exactly how it works, but Toxic also gets better on high alpha damage. So that's what I did for testing, and so I think we're about ready to go into the PowerPoint presentation here. So we'll pull up the first slide. Here we go. All right, so we're going to go over the Prisma Grokata first. This is the low alpha damage. Remember, this was against regular Corpus this time, not Amalgam. So Electric is still very strong, but it's not as oppressively strong as it was before. And Blast is actually stronger than it was before too. But Blast, again, even though it's stronger, it still starts pretty low in a low alpha damage weapon. Blast gets a lot better when we look at high alpha. We'll get to that in a bit. The only differences between this set of runs and the previous set of runs, besides Electric and Blast, because those were different because they were Amalgam Corpus, is that Magnetic ended up beating Toxin on the Grokata this time. But they were very close last time, and if you see, they're still quite close. Like, Magnetic is 1837 altogether, and Toxin is 1728. It's about 100 kill difference over 5 runs. So that could just be a little bit RNG. Maybe I got lucky with Magnetic and it beat Toxin. Or maybe I got unlucky with Magnetic in the last set of runs and that's why it lost to Toxin. But they're still very close to each other. So, okay, let's start at the front there. So Gas. Gas was number 1 with 464, 476, 417, 423, and 401 for a total in 5 runs of 2,181. Electric came in second with 360, 403, 360, 404, and 381 for a total of 1,908. So electric is still very strong. Even without the plus 50% damage, it was still doing extremely good against Corpus. Okay, magnetic next. Magnetic got 365, 369, 358, 382, 363 for a total in 5 runs of 1,837 kills. One thing I'll say with Magnetic is Magnetic was very comfortable. So it was similar, if you watch the Whispers content video, the Murmur video I did yesterday, it was similar to like Corrosive, where when you're fighting armored enemies, Corrosive is super comfortable. Like even though it didn't get the most kills, like it's comfortable fighting dudes because it kills them all about the same. And Magnetic's similar against shielded guys. Like it'll kill those shielded guys all about the same. There's not like one shielded guy that's way stronger than the others and you're struggling with it. It really comes down to the Guardian Eximuses. The Guardian Eximuses are some tough Eximuses for Corpus. And Magnetic chews through them really easily. So even though it got a lower kill count, it's still still very comfortable using Magnetic. Okay. Next, after Magnetic, we have Toxin there with 340, 326, 377, 354, and 331 for a total in 5 runs of 1,728 kills. And just remember, in the very last set of tests we did against Corpus, Toxin did beat Magnetic like barely. So Toxic and Magnetic are pretty much like neck and neck. But again, Magnetic is just a little bit more comfortable fighting those big shielded Eximuses. Okay. 5th place here, we have Blast with 322, 315, 354, 324, and 330 for a total in 5 runs of 1,645 kills. This wasn't too much of a surprise. On low alpha weapons, Blast is it's still good, and that's why I chose it as one of the elements to test. It's not like I'm going to test, I don't know, viral against Corpus here. Like, I know Blast is going to be good against Corpus. So, like, I'm not saying it's bad because it's in 5th place, but it gets better with high alpha. So, I kind of expected it to be here in low alpha. And then in last, we have Cold. And Cold has 240, 270, 259, 263, and 241 for a total in 5 runs of 1,273. So Cold obviously did the worst. Now keep in mind, these are without externals. There are all kinds of crazy externals you can use to make these elements even better. There's, I think, arcanes that make Cold better. I think there's arcanes that make Magnetic better. So there are ways, like even though Cold got last place, there's ways to make Cold better. So, if you really like Cold, don't worry too much about it. You could always use those externals to kind of boost it up. I'm just testing the raw elements and seeing how they do against their factions here. So this was the low alpha. Gas was the winner, not by a lot. Like Electric was like 200-ish kills behind it. And honestly, Magnetic was less than 100 kills behind Electric as well. And Toxic was right behind Magnetic. So yeah, they were all pretty close to each other, except for Cold. Cold is well down there, and Gas was like 200 above the 2nd place. So okay, let's go over to the high alpha. All right, so now we redid the tests. Can't speak today. And we did it with the Prisma Grinlock. This is the high alpha damage weapon. These are the kill counts for 5-minute runs. As you see, Gas is still in 1st place. Not by much, again, by about like 100-ish kills. And Blast ended up boosting itself from like 5th place to 2nd place. And we saw that on most of the runs we did, except for Murmur, weirdly. Murmur was super weird with Blast. But on the previous Corpus video we did, the Grenier video, the Infested video, Blast consistently gets better with high alpha damage. And this is just the Prisma Grinlock. It's just, 2,000 per bullet. I reckon that if you have an even higher alpha damage weapon, Blast will get better and better and better. And, it'll eventually beat Gas and maybe even better than that. So yeah, that's how Blast did. Gas was very good, though. Gas came in 1st place technically here. Electric was also still pretty damn good. It was right behind Blast. Toxin was about 100, no, a little bit less, about 50, 60, 80, almost 100 behind Electric. Magnetic did really poorly. So in the high alpha, Toxin passed Magnetic a lot. And in the last Corpus test we did, it was similar. I forgot off the top of my head how toxic damage is calculated. I reckon because of these numbers that maybe high alpha damage does affect Toxin, and maybe that's why it's boosting up so much with high alpha. Magnetic did kind of poorly in the high alpha. It scored 5th place here, closer to Cold, and Cold is still in 6th. So, okay, let's go over these numbers here. So Gas in first place at 416, 403, 391, 385, and 401 for a total in 5 runs of 1,996 kills. Blast in second with 372, 407, 346, 387, and 360 in 5 runs with 1,872 kills. Electric in third with 370, 373, 379, 365, 351 for a total in 5 runs of 1,838 kills. Toxic in fourth with 325, 370, 332, 364, and 355 with a total of 1,746. Magnetic in fifth with 282, 245, 270, 289, 262 for a total in 5 runs of 1,348. And Cold in last place with 250, 240, 233, 243, 247 for a total in 5 runs of 1,213. So yeah, this is the results here. So Gas and Electric, I feel are Gas, Electric, and Blast, I feel are big winners in a lot of these tests I've done. Blast specifically on high alpha damage. Low alpha damage, Blast is usually like closer to the bottom. But on high alpha, Blast is right there with Gas and Electric. But Gas and Electric have been consistently really, really strong elements. And the cool thing about Gas and Electric is that you can use them both at the same time. Because Gas is toxic and heat, and Electric is electric. And Blast is just kind of good by itself because you don't, it's good on high alpha damage weapons, which are usually slower weapons. And so on slower weapons, you usually don't want to have 3 different statuses because you may only be shooting 1 bullet at a time. And so having Blast on a high alpha damage weapon might be the way to go. So we haven't completely gotten all of these results together, but I wonder if, I'm going to go back to my Narsur here. I wonder on a high alpha damage weapon, like the Grinlock, or stronger, like Grinlock levels or stronger, if Blast will be the new meta. And I wonder on fast firing high status weapons, if Gas and Electric will be the new meta. So on a slower, stronger weapon, you're putting Blast, and on a status weapon that's quicker firing, you're going Gas and Electric. Now, the only thing I didn't test Gas and Electric on so far was Grineer. So when we do, I know I said I was going to do Corrupted today, but I had to do the second Corpus video today when I realized I made that mistake. So I'll do Corrupted tomorrow now. There shouldn't be any more mistakes. I'll do Corrupted tomorrow. And the next day, what is that, Thursday? Thursday, I will do the extra elements that I want to test against the factions I haven't tested them on yet. I didn't test Gas and Electric against Grineer, but I want to test it because if it does good against Grineer, that means Gas and Electric was consistently at the top for every single faction, which is going to be kind of crazy. That'll kind of solidify what I'm thinking with Gas and Electric being the meta. I don't know, though. I don't know if it's going to be the best against Grineer. I'm going to have to test those and then compare it to what we got in the Grineer video. Also, in the Grineer video, we did test against the sub-faction there. We tested against Kuva Grineer, but it doesn't matter in Grineer's case because Kuva Grineer, the only difference between them and regular Grineer is they have a resistance to fire, and we didn't even test fire. So there's no difference between our testing with Grineer or Kuva Grineer. If we tested fire, there would have been a difference, but we didn't. So yeah, I want to test gas and electric against Grenier. I think that's going to be really strong. If you guys want me to test any other elements against any other factions, let me know. If you think maybe something else might be competitive that I haven't tested yet, please let me know. And against Corrupted, I'll probably do like 5 or 6 different elements. The things that I would think is strong against Corrupted. So probably like, you know, half of them are going to have armor. So it's going to be like Corrosive. They all have health. There's a few of them that has shield. So probably Viral. I don't know that I'll test Magnetic against Corrupted because only some of the Corrupted are Corpus, and Magnetic barely even won out in full Corpus. So I don't know. If you want to see Magnetic against Corrupted, let me know. But I don't know that it would be competitive with anything else there. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. These videos are kind of short. They're like 15, 20-minute videos, but they take me a really long time to do. So I can't do all the factions in one video. So I'm kind of doing this in like a little series here. Again, I apologize for the mistake against the Amalgam Corpus, those stinky sub-factions. I will not make that mistake again. I don't think there's a sub-faction to Corrupted, but I will triple check before I do that video tomorrow. So if you liked it, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, tell me what I can consider subbing, or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. Oh my goodness, can't speak today. And thanks for watching, guys. You guys have a good day. Bye.